Hey guys, this is gonna be a guide as to how to play the FUA team. That's the follow-up attack team. Usually you would play this team with Gio, but I don't have Gio and she didn't unlock her Euphoria yet either. So yeah, we're gonna be back here as soon as Gio unlocks her Euphoria, and we're gonna make a brief update as to how to play this team with Gio specifically. But it doesn't really matter for now, as the important part to take away here is like the general premise of this team and how the mechanics work around Flutterpage and Fatuto. So for now we're gonna play this team with Liang Yue and 37. Before we hop into battle, let's take a very quick look at the individual characters for this team real quick. Here we are, let's take a look at Flutterpage first. Now the big deal, the big thing that you want to accomplish with Flutterpage is that you cast her ultimate as fast as possible. So she starts playing herself, and every single turn she gets her Eureka increased to maximum. That is very important, because Flutterpage key mechanic is that she follows up on follow-up attacks with a follow-up attack. She needs to Eureka though in order to perform this follow-up attack on follow-up attacks. And yeah, with her ultimate she can accomplish that. It will not be too much of a big deal to actually get her ultimate out really fast, because she starts with 2 Moxie. Additionally, her incantation number 1 grants +1 AP for 1 round to your entire team. Her second incantation deals a little bit of damage and provides 2 stacks of Gust. Now, you don't have to worry about this too much, but stacking up on Gust is not too bad, and it would increase the damage that she does with the follow-up attack on follow-up attacks by a little bit. You know, it's not that big of a deal. The core part is again unlock her ultimate as fast as you possibly can, and then have your allies perform extra actions so that Flutterpage can follow up with a follow-up attack on those follow-up attacks. Now say this 3 times in quick succession, and then we can move on. Next up, let's take a look at Fatuto real quick. That is very simple. You want to apply and retrieve shells as fast as possible. You can do this by using her incantation number 2, which applies shells. Now every time you would attack the enemy with any of your allies that you apply these shells to, these shells would be retrieved. If you retrieve and or apply 7 shells in total, Fatuto will perform an extra action, and that is what she's all about. You want to accomplish that so that you apply shells, you retrieve shells, Fatuto performs an extra action, and Flutterpage performs a follow-up attack on this follow-up attack from Fatuto. Then let's take a look at Liang real quick. Same story as for Flutterpage. You want to unlock her ultimate as fast as possible, because by using this ultimate your incantations will profit from beneficial effects. The core and main reason why Liang is here though is because of her incantation number 1. It's a buff. Whoever you grant this buff to, it has to be one of your allies. Then if this ally would now attack, then Liang would perform a follow-up attack on this attack from your ally. Now, yeah, you need her ultimate really fast. That is no problem, because Liang starts off with +3 Moxie. Last but not least, we have 37, who has absolutely beautiful synergy with a team like this follow-up attack team, because whenever another ally would perform a follow-up attack, 37 gains Eureka. If she has at 5 Eureka, she performs a follow-up attack. That is absolutely perfect. She kind of plays herself. You can speed her up by using her incantations, but you would never have to do this in the first place. So beautiful right there. Now that we did go over every single character in this team, like remember Liang and 37 would be replaced by Gio and Pickles once Gio receives her Euphoria update in version 2.7, if you have her and if possible. Otherwise, this team is very strong and very viable, as we showcase this right here. So now let's jump into battle. Here we are. Let's see how all of this looks in action. And turn number 1 is already extremely crucial, because if we now would have 3 incantations for Flutterpage available, we would use those 3 incantations immediately, so that in round 2 we already have that Flutterpage ultimate channeling. That would be the best case scenario for us, like by far. Since we don't have that, we want to make sure that we at least unlock Liang's ultimate for round number 2. So we will use 2 incantations with her. Of course, we still use the 2 incantations for Flutter Page, right? That is self-explanatory, I think. And here you will see, I applied the buff from Liang to Flutter Page, because Flutter Page is gonna attack this turn, 100% guaranteed. And therefore now if Flutter Page attacks, Liang will follow up on Flutter Page's attack with a follow-up attack, and this will grant 37 1 Eureka. See this here. Boom, we attack with Flutter Page, plus 1 AP, boom, Liang follows up, and now you will see that 37 got a Eureka. You see this? Perfect. Also, another good side note is that you saw that every time when you attack with Flutter Page, she generates 2 Eureka. That can be important because you would also follow up with a follow-up attack with Flutter Page if you just are able to consume 2 Eureka. So keep that in mind. That's how you generate Eureka with Flutter Page if you don't have her ultimate channeling, is by simply using her incantations. Now here in turn number 2 I make a really big mistake and I waste an entire turn. Can you figure out why? Yeah, I mean, you don't know what I'm about to do, but yeah, let me tell you. What I should do right here is realize that Flutter Page only needs 1 more Moxie to have her ultimate unlocked. I completely forget about that, and I do not re-roll my hand. I would need to re-roll my hand to get my hands onto the at least 1 incantation for Flutter Page so that I have her ultimate in turn number 3. Unfortunately, to my demise, I don't do that. You know, that's a pretty big misplay. And other than that, yeah, of course, I want to use Liang's ultimate as fast as possible. Boom, I do this right on turn 2. And then further, without other ultimates unlocked, the biggest thing is apply shells and retrieve shells to make Fatuto use her follow-up attack and grant Eureka to 37. To get 37 as fast as possible to 5 Eureka so that she performs her follow-up attack. Here again I use the buff. Now I finally unlock Flutter Page's ultimate, I apply shells, I retrieve shells. And that's how you play. Things change a little bit when Flutter Page actually uses her ultimate, which we will do next turn. Here, boom, see? Let's watch this one more time again. We attack. Now we attack. Yeah, follow-up attack from Liang, 1 Eureka to 37. Now we attack with Fatuto. That leads to us having applied and or retrieved 7 shells in total, which leads to her using her follow-up attack. That gives the last Eureka that 37 needs to perform her follow-up attack. See, follow-up attack into follow-up attack. Normally, if I would have played everything correctly, then Flutter Page would have used her follow-up attack twice this turn. She would follow up on Fatuto's follow-up attack and then follow up on 37's follow-up attack as well. See, this is why the first turns are crucially important, and like the most important part about this team is this start to unlock your ultimates, especially the one for Flutter Page. I already missed out on quite a bunch of damage here. And also, if that would have been the case, you see, my 37 is at 2 Eureka, she would be at 4, because I would have performed 2 more follow-up attacks, and every follow-up attack that I perform gives 37 Eureka. You see how much of an incredibly big deal it is to make a mistake that seems rather simple to most players. And you see how tremendous this is to really play it perfect, you know. Now again, you see, I would have increased 37's Eureka by 2, and she would perform a follow-up attack right now, but she doesn't because she doesn't have the Eureka now. And it's everything all just because of this one misplay for not re-rolling my hand on turn 2. But anyways, now I finally have that ultimate for Flutter Page, which is of course really amazing. Now we use this, see? And then again, it's all about like applying shells, retrieving shells, using the buff for Liang to like perform as many extra actions, as many follow-up attacks as I possibly can. And now this is really nuts because, as I explained before, now every turn Flutter Page has full Eureka. That means she can follow up 3 times per turn. And yeah, you activate it immediately. See, now I applied shells. Now through Fatutu's ultimate, not only do I retrieve multiple shells at a time, but these shells, they count as being retrieved, but they will not actually be retrieved. That's why Fatutu's ultimate is so brilliant. Also, you will see that Fatutu's ultimate hits multiple times. Here, boom, 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 boom. And that makes it so that multiple shells are retrieved. So pretty much every single time you use that ultimate, Fatutu will perform her follow-up attack as you have retrieved and applied enough shells. There it is, boom. What does that lead to? It gives 37 her last Eureka. That means she will follow up on this follow-up attack. There we go. Boom, 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 boom. There were 2 follow-up attacks. Now we apply a buff with Liang. 237. 37 attacks. Boom. Follow up. Yeah, okay, she attacks, right? Now Liang will do a follow-up attack. First, her ultimate triggers, which also counts as a follow-up attack. Boom. Follow-up attack. You know, you're counting. Now watch Flutter Page. She will do 3 follow-up attacks. Because yeah, that's the maximum amount that she can do per turn. And we used 4 follow-up attacks. 1 with Fatutu, 2 with Liang because of her buff incantation and her ultimate, and 1 with 37. So Flutter Page will attack 3 times now. That's the maximum she can do per turn. This one. There's 2. There's 3. You see? And while this is happening, Liang also follows up. Then 37 gains the Eureka, follows up. Shells are retrieved, so Fatutu follows up. You know, this is always a huge chain reaction that can happen if you just play it right. And yeah, there we go. This is the rotation. This is what you always want to do. Buff with Liang, attack so with that character that you buffed. So that then leads to Liang following up with a follow-up attack on the attack. Whenever a follow-up attack is performed, Flutter Page will perform an extra action that will retrieve shells and give Eureka to 37. Once enough shells are retrieved or applied, Fatutu will attack, and they all attack multiple times every single turn. And that's how you play the follow-up team. See, now again, Liang's ultimate, Liang's buff. We attack, we apply shells. You know, again, I should have re-rolled my hand to be able to apply shells with Fatutu that then can be retrieved by Liang's follow-up attack, by attacking with Flutter Page, by using 37 and having her follow-up attack rise. You know, that's the second big misplay I make. So yeah, again, a very important note is that Don't forget to re-roll your hand in case you miss something that you actually need. Buff with Liang, apply shells with Fatutu, and retrieve these shells. And then the follow-up attacks, they will keep happening with Flutterpage, with 37. Fatutu will constantly, you know, yeah, I think you get the point, and I explained enough. And that's simply how you play the follow-up attack team. The core parts are, of course, Flutterpage with her ultimate and Fatutu with her shards, right? That's the most important part. 37 is golden here because every time she gets Eureka, she performs an extra action, you know? But that place usually belongs to Pickles. Then we have Liang triggering extra actions through her ultimate, through her buff. And yeah, this is the place that normally belongs to Geo if you wanna like really play the best in slots here. And that's the team for you. I hope that video was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. I would really appreciate that. But until next time, take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.